I'd like to welcome everybody to Shawnee High School. Just kind of start off the evening, and I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. I'd like to do some quick introductions. I'd like to introduce two of our board members that are here with us tonight from Medford Township, Mrs. Allison Eckel and Mr. David Stowe. I want to thank them for coming out tonight. And especially I'd like to welcome the parents and members of the class of 2018. Thanks to Mother Nature, this is our third attempt. When I was putting the sign up there, I was going to have March 7th and then March 12th and then, finally today. So normally we don't do this late in the year, but I do appreciate everybody making the time to come out for this. It's been a true pleasure to work with this class. As the years go on, we just had most of the kids that went on the senior trip. Once, it was probably the most stressful 2 days leading up to the senior trip. But honestly, once we got up into the air, it was awesome. There was not an issue when we were down there. The kids were so well behaved, and I think they had truly had a great time. So I want to thank you for that and thank them for having such a good time down there. So this is my 12th senior pinning. And one of the things that I've learned to appreciate more and more each year is because I'm not sure if you are aware of this, I've said this before, but I also have a member of the class of 2018. All right, so I want to do a quick comparison of experiences here. So how many are here with their oldest child? This is their oldest child, okay? All right, how many of you love that oldest child, your children, with all your heart? Okay. How many of you are ready for them to move out? Okay, all right, so we're all kind of sharing the same thing. It's kind of a love, time to go type thing. And, and so it's important that, because with my son, who's a senior as well, as I said, it's great to have him in the house, to have another adult around, at most times. But there are other times where it's not so much fun. And that's not uncommon to find as you get into this relationship as a child, because as your child is getting old enough, getting ready to, take off, all right, and endure, begin their age of freedom as they go off to college or to the workforce or whatever the case may be, it's important, and it can be very difficult in this relationship. But for the students that are here tonight, it speaks volumes about how you view your relationship with your parents. And that's really what we're here for tonight. That's what this is all about. It's about taking time to reflect and be thankful of that relationship of parent and child, even though there are times where the relationship doesn't go as we want it to be. And the message I have for you students before you embark on your journey, whatever that may be, is that your relationship between your parents has, and it is, and it always will be an integral part into your successes in life. So you have to really learn to appreciate it. And as I said, by your being here tonight, you show that you have appreciated it. A couple of years ago, I did attend a workshop, and this workshop was about school culture. And one of the things that they talked about were all these studies that talked about a positive correlation between parents that are actively involved in their child's life and a child's academic and life success. And I think that speaks volumes about why we're here. And the more that you're involved, and it gets harder and harder at this age. We see so many students throughout the years of high school in particular, they just make poor decisions when it comes to whether it's use of drugs and alcohol or more and more nowadays, social media. I can't tell you the number of days that we spend dealing with students that have made bad decisions posting stuff on social media. And a big part of that is making sure that as parents, we stay actively involved in that decision-making process, even though they are pushing us away as much as we possibly can. And there's really no poster, there's no slogan that's going to be, going to resolve that issue. The biggest part is the role that we as parents play. And when you talk to the students, one of the things, when you find out and you actually drill down on what is the most important or most powerful influence on the decisions that they make, it's not their peers, it's not what they watch on TV, what they see on social media, it's you, the parent. And that relationship, it comes back to having that relationship. And so you have to understand that even though they're pushing you away, they still have a great value in your opinion, and they do want to make things right and get your approval. And it takes me back to each year when we do this ceremony. I kind of go back to my first year, and Officer Rusty Williams, who's a former Medford Township police officer, was a parent, and he told a story, and he used this analogy talking about, comparing raising a child to making a cake. And so one of the things he talked about was you spend all this time getting the ingredients together, and you get everything, you mix it all together, and you put it in the oven, and he said, you're not done. And what happens if you walk away from that cake after you put it into the oven? all that hard work that you did putting it together and getting it ready to put in the oven goes for naught if it burns. All right, and that's where you are at this stage. All that you've done with your child and raising them is, you think you're at the stage where you just put them in the oven and send them off. Well, that's not the case. All right, and that will not end tonight. That will not end in 3 months. Okay, it'll still continue, and hopefully in 3 or 4 years, you will find out, or the students will find out, that parents are not wrong all the time. All right, they are not always wrong, that from time to time we are right and we know what we're talking about. So I just wanted to leave you with that analogy, and hopefully, tonight is, again, as your participation here tonight speaks volume to how you also view the relationship between parent and child and how critical it is during these formative years. So I want to thank you again for coming tonight, and I'm going to turn it over to our guest speaker, parent Mr. Gary Hill. Gary?
Thank you for coming out tonight. This is what it sounds like when I go bowling. Notice there were no pins in that sound effect. So what I often have the luxury of having with me is an 8-year-old daughter. So when she's there, we of course bring up the old bumpers. And that helps out the cause for people like me who are not very adept at bowling. And I thought of the role of a parent somewhat like the role of those bumpers. They're there to kind of help steer you when you go wrong, to help guide you to the goal, which is, of course, hitting a pin. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind moving forward. One thing I like, too, is the idea that, that ball going down the alley, kids, that's on you. That's the destination to get the ball down the alley. You guys that's on you. You got to do that. Parents will be there to help guide you if you go wrong, okay, to help steer you if you need to. Isn't it funny how far we've come in the last 4 years? If you think back to being an 8th grade parent, what was it like? Well, you probably had some nervousness about your child going off to high school. They're going to have more freedom, and they're going to be in this new big school, and all these unknowns, and someday they're even going to drive a car. All those things that you were so afraid of, the kids were excited about. Now we're in that same spot again, now that we have seniors. All these things are coming forth that are really, really scary to parents. The kids are going to be going out on their own. They're going to be moving out of the house. They're going to be, all those things are things kids are really excited about. So it's kind of a funny thing. We're back in the same place we were 4 years ago in some senses. But here we are. One thing that I think is true moving forward is that kids and parents, you're probably going to spend less time together in the future than you have in the past. So your time together is going to be really, really important. You're going to have to work hard to give each other your full attention when you can, and to absolutely be present when you guys are together. Because the times you're going to be able to get together are going to be less than they were when the kids were young. Plain and simple. Many years ago, my wife and I spent lots and lots of days at the hospital. And we were determined to always be there, one of us, to be present, to be part of it all the time, no matter what. And we talked a lot about the importance of that. So one night I was looking for a source of inspiration, and I found it in a fairly unlikely place. I found the book from One Book of One School about 7 years ago, something like that. And I pulled it out, and I happened to find a little article that talked about the power of presence. And I thought it was really appropriate for what we were going through and for what parents are going to go through with their kids moving forward. And here's a little paragraph of what it says. Presence is a noun, not a verb. It's a state of being, not a state of doing. States of being are not highly valued in a culture that places a high priority on doing. Yet true presence or being with another person carries with it a silent power to bear witness to a passage, to help carry an emotional burden, or to begin a healing process. In it, there is an intimate connection with another. My wish for all of you is that moving forward, you take that important lesson and think about presence and being with people that you love and spending quality time with them whenever you can. And if you do that, the 4 years ahead and beyond are going to be really exceptional years for all of us. Thank you. I'd like now to introduce Mr. Glenn Goldberg and her daughter, Olivia.
Would everyone please rise? Parents are invited to say the creed along with me. I believe in the sanctity of the family and the worth of each of its members. I believe in the obligation each of us has to the others in the family. I believe that each of us shares in the joys of our individual achievements. I believe that each of us must accept the responsibility for our own shortcomings. I believe that each of us has an individual charge to be the best that we can be. I believe that as a parent, I must set the example for the others to follow. I believe that we are all members of a greater family and as such have a responsibility to contribute to society and our fellow man for the good for all of us. Parents now pin their student. Okay.
Students, if you'll now read the senior creed along with me. I believe that my family will support me in every worthwhile endeavor. I believe that it is important for me to demonstrate my appreciation towards my family. I believe that my family will always be there for me in times of need. I believe in the worth and sanctity of myself and the importance of treating my body with respect. I believe in the importance of helping my fellow man. I believe that I have the capability to do anything I sincerely attempt to achieve. I believe in myself. Students, you may now pin your parent.